If there's one man who can help, if there's one man who can help, it's the man coming in here right now.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of our Fullmetal Alchemist 2003 fan guide. It is part of my new podcast, a podcast made Full Metal, which we do on Full Metal Fridays. My goal is to upload a new podcast every Friday by 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I might skip a week or two if I do a couple episodes that might be two-parters. Today's episode is actually episode 4 of Forger's Love, so we have to wonder what the Forger is forging. Maybe some kind of something related to love, perhaps. Basically, the synopsis is the Elric brothers are on their way to Central when they actually come across word of an alchemist who was in communication with their father, who may have had some involvement in his expertise in human transmutation, so they decide to seek him out and find out what he may know to help them. They get to the town where the alchemist is, and they find that it is overrun with some form of the undead that take the form of women. They might be described as ghosts or zombies, looking like a young girl. When they meet the alchemist, he also recounts a tale of this woman that he loved a long time ago, who he lost in an accident. And basically, throughout the episode and its events, the Elric brothers find that actually the alchemist has been abducting these young women and actually transferring their souls into these human-like mannequins, which have been going wrong as his experiments go awry because he can't quite recreate the process. Also, in kind of another twist, we find out that in fact the woman he did love a long time ago did not die in the accident. She's actually been wandering around the village, but she lost her memory in the accident. The Elric brothers do try to confront the alchemist and actually introduce him to her again, but he's so overcome by this idea of who she once was that he cannot really see that the woman he loved is still in front of him, even though he's much older. He's really trapped in the past and really just kind of been overcome by his own desire for really trying to recreate the past. So he doesn't recognize her, but the Elric brothers manage to stop him as he ends up getting killed. So this is kind of an example of one of those villain of the week sort of episodes. Overall, I really liked this episode. I find it kind of interesting though, because when I checked on one of the ratings, I believe it was IMDb or some kind of TV ranking site, this episode was actually the lowest ranked of the 2003 series. So a lot of people apparently don't like this one if they have to rank them. And I think I can kind of see why. In context with the rest of the series, we kind of get a point where even though this series is kind of not based directly on the manga and much of it really is doing its own original story, which constitutes essentially as sort of a big filler arc for a series. Even within the narrative of the anime itself, there are arcs that might be considered more filler, like they aren't necessarily as essential for the canon of the main plot. This one, though, does reinforce sort of the themes of the series and kind of adds a little bit of world building as the Elric brothers kind of, wander around the country and kind of learn little life lessons kind of related to the main theme, related to human transmutation. Before I did this podcast, I actually watched a couple of these episodes with my one friend, and we actually saw that some of these do kind of repeat some of the same themes, just with slightly different plots. So it might end up being partially subjective as to what type of plots you enjoy, but there are a lot of the same themes that are kind of hammered over and over again. Although, to be honest, I actually really like this one just as a kind of standalone story. I think it really does hit that sort of cautionary mad science theme that the show will definitely expand upon. And I really like the atmosphere of it. I kind of like the tragedy of the alchemist, and we kind of see that sort of similar good intentions leading to bad things that comes up with other people on the show, more specifically, I think, Shao Tucker, which, once again might lead to the idea that maybe this is an episode that didn't necessarily need to be watched, but personally, I really like it. Though I will admit, in terms of how essential it is, I do think this episode is probably skippable because there are other episodes that will kind of hammer this home. But personally, I really like it, and I do think it's a solid episode. Even considering if it is, in fact, one of the lower episodes of the show, it's one that I've always liked, and I don't think that this series has any bad episodes from what I can remember, so this one for me will probably sit at a 6. I personally want to give it a 7. I'm kind of like sitting between 6 and 7, but officially, I'll leave it as a 6. I don't think there'll be too many episodes that are lower than that, but we shall see. As far as my favorite moment, I think my favorite Full Metal moment for this episode was really just that kind of reveal when the Elric brothers introduced the alchemist to his former love from when he was younger, and just kind of that realization and the fact that he can't fully accept it because he's so far gone and so caught up in the past and in his own experiments, really just kind of trying to go mad with power, essentially. Just that whole moment I thought was kind of scary and sad, and just really hits home the tragedy of the episode, which I think is the strength of this one and a lot of the series as a whole, also kind of hammering home the whole body horror element. With the human mannequins, they actually kind of add them further into Brotherhood later. Alright everyone, well those are my thoughts on episode 4 of Forager's Love. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, anything I missed or anything that stands out you'd like to think about. In the meantime, I'll be signing off. Hopefully you'll hear from me next Friday. Alright everyone, stay magical.